The body is an incredibly powerful tool. We often underestimate the sophistication of the whole process of essentially living. So the complexity of things like breathing, of eating, things that are paramount to our existence and our survival. So recently I was able to attend a session which was focusing on the nose. And it oriented around breath work with the nose. So in many of my sessions, in many of the practices, I focus on breathing in deeply through the nose. And one of the reasons why is that breathing in through the nose actually creates benefits to different areas to the body as breathing in through the mouth. And one of those that was investigated within this session is nitroglycerin. So the session started in a very weird way. It started exploring how nitroglycerin, which is in its own right is a very unstable substance, it's how this went from being essentially the foundations of dynamite to essentially now being potentially the foundations of our immune system. So when we're breathing in through our nose and also potentially out through our nose as well, we actually find that there's traces of nitroglycerin within the particles that are extinguished from our nose. And the session focused on this because it was the pranayama technique, which focuses purely on nose breathing. But in kind of digging down, doing more research around it, it actually presented it as being a possible way to develop the immune system against viruses such as COVID. And you might think this is a little bit far-fetched, but it actually has a lot of substance. So there was people who was attending that session who, over the years, they had experienced various viral type diseases, infections, and also non-viral type as well. And they had noticed that through the focus on this nose breathing technique that they went through, that the diagnoses for whatever conditions they suffered from, so it was things that were caused by the likes of dust mites and so on, that those just almost entirely went away. So basically what was positioned in that session, and we put it into practice as we normally do with the pranayama, is that through focusing our breathing through the nose, we're actually able to develop our immune system better. So in terms of our lungs, they were specifically referring to the traces of nitroglycerin that we can actually bring into our lungs and therefore strengthen the immunity of those areas, which the link to COVID is that it actually targets the lungs. It actually impacts the lungs. Whereas if we've built up the immunity of our lungs, then we're in a much better position to fight it. And now naturally the kind of host of the session, he didn't obviously say that this is a definitive thing. It's just kind of a hypothesis that he's following. And that given the thoughts of, we actually had a consultant who was on the session as well, he actually emphasised the logic that was actually behind what we was actually speaking about here, and how the power of breath work can actually help us from both the reducing stress perspective, but then also focusing on kind of improving our immune systems, which outside of this whole idea, there is a lot of scientific evidence to support that the likes of breath work, meditation does actually help us to both improve our immune system, but then also our stress levels as well. So what we're going to do in this exercise, and it's not necessarily a long exercise, is to just focus on that breath work. So if we begin by just finding ourselves comfortable within the seat, with your back upright and your shoulders relaxed, And let's start by taking a few deep breaths in through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. And then once again, just breathing in through the nose and then out through the mouth. And if you wish to, you can close your eyes or just keep your eyes open as we just continue those cycles of breathing. And for each breath, we are going to count 1. So breathing in through the nose will be 1, and then out through the mouth. Then once again, breathing in through the nose, deep breath in, is 2. And then breathing in through the nose again, and that's 3. And release. And then just continue, just counting the breaths as you go. Just remember that as you're counting, if you do notice the mind wander, just bring your attention back to the number 1 and start again. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. As we take one final deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth, and just resting our attention on ourselves being seated or stood, just in the environment that we find ourselves in. As we begin to pay attention to any sounds that we may hear around the room, before, if you haven't already, just opening your eyes and bringing your attention back. And just remember that there is a lot of science to support this, about the immune system, about breathing techniques, about the reduction of stress and so on. And that it is just as simple as just doing targeted breathing, which doesn't have to occur at a specific time of day. It could just be something whilst you're doing certain tasks. The key is to breathe deeply in through the nose and then out through the mouth, and letting go of all stress and strain.